Hello everybody, this is Women's Grandmaster Sabina Foisor. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have the pleasure of being the commentator of the second World Chess Championship for Disabled, and I want to thank Grandmaster Thomas Luther for giving me this opportunity. You can find out more about the tournament at this website, worldchess-disabled.com. There will be four of the games will be live. I will be choosing every single day from today until the 25th of October one game to analyze in my videos, and additionally I will be analyzing the first 10 games played every single round. So the PGN of those games will be available live on the website as well. For today, I chose the game between Sponheim Marko, or Sponheim, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, 2024, and Yarmonov Igor, 2375, International Master. This was the first round, was played today. The tournament is played in Dresden, Germany. It's a very interesting tournament to follow, and I hope you guys will follow the events as well as the videos, and hopefully these promotions will help develop the chess for disabled in the United States as well. So that's all for my introduction. Let me start with this game. The reason I chose this game is because it went from white having a better position than black, then white again, and then it's really so amazing how interesting chess is, and how much we have to learn with every single game. So here's the game. We had the Italian, the Ukrainian international master went for bishop e7, which is a little bit defensive line. I prefer bishop c5 lines here for black, but bishop e7 is still as good. And the German player Marko went for d4. d4. Counterattack in the center. We know that this d4 is a typical move in the Italian. E takes d4, c3. Not knight takes d4, but c3. It doesn't matter that he's playing against a stronger player. He prefers to be aggressive and get as much of the position as possible. Here knight f6 was played, after which e5, of course, getting the space and the center, knight g4. For example, in this position, if knight e4 was played, I'm pretty sure white would have continued with bishop d5, utilizing the bad position of the knight in e4. And for example, if black would play f5 here, just imagine the position after c takes d4. It looks like this knight in e4 is strong, but in fact, black simply with f5 weakened his king side, and he will not have an easy task to castle short. So this position is definitely very good for white. If after bishop d5 black would have gone knight c5, well, we simply have c takes d4, and if knight e6, knight c3, this knight in e6 not being that greatly placed, especially after d6, trying to get that bishop out is going to be it's going to take a long time. So knight g4 is the only solution here for black, but unfortunately this position is still bad for him. After c takes d4, d5, white could have continued with bishop b5 here, threatening some captures in c6, doubling the pawns, but in the same time, I'm just going to finish my development with white, and this knight in g4 is going to have some trouble getting back into play. For example, if black would castle here, simply knight c3, and if you're trying f6 to get your knight back in f6, well, I'm not taking to help you. In fact, I'm playing h3, you have to go back to h6, and now I would double your pawns, and this position is simply much better for white. White, however, didn't go for bishop b5, he went bishop d3, and now black had the chance to play f6 and get his knight back into play, because now h3 does not work as great as before, because f takes e5, and if h takes g4, we have this e4 move, attacking both the pieces, getting back the piece, and black has no trouble in this position. So f6 had to be played by black. Instead, he played knight b4, going for the bishop. And here white should not have feared that black would remain with the bishop pair, h3 had to be played in my opinion, and after knight takes d3, queen takes d3, knight h6, now we can take, pawn takes, and knight c3. And although black has the bishop pair, the center is closed. I'm going to castle short without much worry. c5 will actually help me as white because your d5 pawn will get weak, and it's not very clear what is black's plan in this position, whereas I'm going to find ways to attack your pawns, knight h2, f4, f5, things like this. Simply would give white a nice play. But okay, white probably feared this bishop loss because he went bishop e2. Now bishop f5. You have to be careful about knight c2. We have to play knight a3, h3, knight e6, bishop e3. Now, by the way, bishop takes h6 is not exactly the same as I previously showed you because, for example, now if knight h2, just rook g8, and the a3 knight is not that greatly placed, and black is about to finish his development. He can castle long, and the position now is more safe for black, and this bishop in e2 doesn't help to have it on the board. This was a choice, but okay, bishop e3 is much better than bishop takes h6, of course. Bishop e4. Now white goes for it, g4. Knight g8, I don't think this was necessary. Black would just finish his development. Wait, if you want to play g5, I'm going to have a really much better square for the knight. And of course, I don't fear the capture because now I will have h5. My king is on the other side of the board. I think this was better for black. Instead, knight g8, rook g1. Interesting move here. I'm not 100% sure what was the idea. Maybe to make sure g4 is protected in case of any h5. Here, knight g5, takes, bishop g6, queen b3. You know, both players are trying to finish up their development. a5, bishop d2, c6, not allowing any kind of knight b5, improving the position of the knight towards c3. Knight h3, white also goes for the improvement of his knight because it doesn't do anything in g5 anymore. And here black blundered. He played knight d3, thinking that he's going to win some material because of the weakness of the third rank. Instead of that, he had to castle long, and after rook c1, simply king b8. I think this position is okay for black. Because of the knight in a3, white does not have an easy path to attacking black's king, and black just can prepare some c5, opening up the position and utilizing the fact that white still has his king in the center. Why was knight d3 a blunder? Well, because bishop takes d3, rook takes h3, and now a really good move found by white. And it's not rook g3 because there's a4, and if queen c3, the rooks get traded, and now queen takes g4 and black starts the attack. But a very good move, bishop f5, intermediate move, attacking the rook and the queen. You have to take my queen. Now bishop takes d7 check, and white stayed with an exchange up and a much better position. So this should have led to white's winning of the game, but let's see what happened. f6, black tries to get his knight out of there, but white doesn't allow that. f4, a very good move to restrict the knight there. In case of take, we can, capture back with the d pawn and have a nice chain of pawns here. These pawns will go for queen. Bishop e4 to make sure there won't be f5, e6, totally closing the bishop in g6. And now white has to do something about his bad piece, this knight in a3. So he played very nice, knight b1, recycling the knight, f takes e5, d takes e5, and now black, of course, also has to be careful here because he doesn't want to lose the game. He's restricting the white's position as well, d4, controlling the c3 square. Having this d5 space for the bishop. Now, king e2 was a mistake in my opinion. White still has advantage after king e2, but I think after f5, bringing the bishop in f4 and knight d2, white had no problem to convert this position. But after king e2, now bishop c5, so black is developing, is finishing his development with tempo. d3 is the threat. Rook g3, okay, this move is anyways good for white because I can improve the position of my rook, but now knight e7, so basically black finishes development. And here white didn't choose the best continuation, in my opinion. He played rook h3, fearing possibly the activation of black's rook on the h-file, but instead he can utilize this pin here and could have played b4. And black doesn't have a good square for the bishop. For example, if he goes to a7, now we can go rook h3, and now a5 will be a lost pawn for black. If you take him b4, then okay, even better for me. I can play f5, for example. The bishop can go to b4 or f4. This knight will get out. Your rook will be stuck in a8 for some time. So this would have been a little better for white. Rook h3 is still alright, but it gives black some counter-attacking chances, and you don't have the chance to get rid of your double pawns anymore. f5. b5 was played by black, but I think rook e8 had to be tried to change some pawns here, because these pawns can get annoying. e6, for example, wouldn't help white because the king just gets active here. But rook h7, and now rook takes e5, rook takes g7, and bishop e7, since that black has blockaded these pawns for a while and maybe has some chance to save the game. Instead, he played b5, which allowed rook h7, very good, bishop f8, and here white didn't go for the win, bishop h6. And I personally do not see how black can defend, because if you go rook at e8 to bring the rook to e7, pin me, okay, I take. Now knight d2, your bishop in e4 is stuck here. And if you move the bishop, now e6 check, and rook takes a5, I'm entering the other way around, and I'm simply winning this. White instead went b4. So like I said, this game is full of very instructive ideas, how not to give counterplay, how to improve your position of your pieces. Knight a3, rook e8, of course black goes for, trying to trade some material. Now that the pawns are blocked are going to be blocked on the black square, black is happy, bringing the king towards b6. Here black started improving his position a lot and went slowly from being lost to having the advantage. Here white probably feared the loss of the pawn in b4 and thought it was time to retreat. He played rook h2. Instead of this, I think rook h8 would have given him big chances of win. If check, just king f2. There's no bishop c5 because I take with check. Now I want rook e1, your bishop is trapped. This could have been another lead to some win again, but rook h2, after rook h2, knight takes b4, bishop takes, black has equalized, and here white blundered, king f2, instead rook d1, and if bishop c5, okay, I think this is about equal. Black cannot really push the pawns quite easily in this position, so I can just try to play rook f1 maybe and push g5, f6. But after king f2, c5, not the best move maybe for black. I think g6 was just simply much simpler for black, just destroying white's pawn's chain, and the rook comes on the file is just much simpler. But c5 is good as well. c5, rook h7, now c4. Knight takes c4, a very good comeback by white, and finding this resource of saving the game, and unfortunately he didn't go here, rook takes c4, which would have led to probably a draw in this position. It's complicated, but I think white can make a draw in this position. He played rook takes g7, c3, takes, king e3, of course, very good, bringing the king in the center. Bishop d5, another good move by black as well. Bishop d4, bishop b3, and here the last blunder of the game, g5. After rook takes c3, rook d8 check, we play rook d7, now bishop takes c3, rook takes, and now because the bishop is of the opposite corner of the a1, this game would have ended in a draw, which still would have been great for white because he was a weaker player. Unfortunately, he played g5, and now these pawns are unstoppable. Black just won very nicely here. King d3, a3, a2, check, rook d1, and now bishop takes c7, winning the game. I hope you enjoyed this game. Stay tuned for more tomorrow.